Welcome to Stories and Lessons. My name is Amy Ebert. I'm your host for today's podcast. Welcome back to the series, All Things Leadership. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Kristin Gutierrez. She is a best-selling author with 20 years of experience in sales. In this episode, Kristin shares the incredible power of saying yes and figuring it out, which coincidentally is the title of her upcoming book, helping you to move swiftly towards your goals.
And then another thing I like to do is often I record things and then it cuts off the first word. I'm like, it said it was ready, you know? So it is recording. So I'm just so I don't forget to have this, you know what I'm going to ask. All right, what am I going to ask?
Oh, Gutierrez.
That's it. I thought
Yeah.
What?
Let's get too fancy with it. And like, even Eileen, like, bless her heart, because my ex-husband, you know, he's Mexican. They're all They speak Spanish. He'll say it a certain way. But in English, in English, it is like straight up. He'll say Gutierrez.
For lamos that don't know how, right? Don't have the right. I'm like, you don't strike me as a Gutierrez. I'm like, that makes sense. It's because it's your obviously
and then someone's like, "Oh, are you going to change your last name?" I'm like, "Well, no. Now I'm a best-selling author and I have kids. Like, what am I? No.
Are you remarried?
No, but I'm divorced.
Okay, you are. Well, you said ex, so I figured that part. Yeah. Are you? So you are. You're not remarried.
No.
But obviously, you would not change your name because you're like, I got a book.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have 2 books.
Yeah. You're like, so the name is working right now.
The name works. Yeah.
You guys get along?
Yeah, we live together.
What?
It's crazy.
Tell us about that. That's what the people want to know.
How to have kids, get married, have kids, get divorced, and still live together while having a better relationship with him now than you did before. Because before, and it was 1,000 paper cuts. So, you know, in my quick summary of it, I was bitter, angry, and resentful. And well, it's not.
Tell us more.
It's not that interesting.
That is totally interesting. Okay, so you guys, you're divorced and you're living in the same. How long have you been divorced?
Not that long. So it's this year. Yeah.
And you get along. Your pals, your friends.
Oh, his parents live next door.
What?
Like, we're not in a neighborhood that shares driveways, but we happen to share a driveway. So like there is no separation. And the first kid, it was really hard for me. It's like everybody loves Raymond. Like, I didn't sign up for that. But after the second kid, I'm just like, take them. Do you want to go to grandma's? Like, what's going on at grandma's? And they're such a blessing. And my whole family lives in Indiana, and moving wasn't an option. So,
yeah, that is really convenient. You're like, oh, wait, next door. That's what we were trying to get my husband's parents to do, actually, was to buy. There was a house that was for sale next door. We were trying to get them to buy that one because we're like, you never know when you might want to just have that as that's so convenient. Oh my gosh. Now,
tell me.
Do you work from home now?
I've worked from home since 2010. So yes.
Okay. Because you were talking earlier about, and you can go into this a little bit about your background. You were talking about doing a lot with corporate. Were you working from home doing that? Mm-hmm. Tell us all about that.
Yeah. So for 20 years, or just shy of, I was in corporate sales in the language translation industry, which is like how everything in the world goes around because Apple can't sell its products in other markets without translating the user interface, the marketing materials, the websites, and everything into other languages. And so I was in the industry that did that. It's $1 billion industry. And I always worked for like the top 3 or 4 companies in the whole industry. And it was great. And I worked from home. We were sales. And so sales just in that industry always worked from home. And I'd have bosses in Ireland or the UK or like never in my backyard. And so we just kind of learned to adapt way prior to COVID. But then April 17th, 2023, I got let go from my job unexpected. And I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. I wanted to be a chief revenue officer. I was writing, be a better sales leader. And I was like, what in the world do I do now? And so I leaned into my purpose and I started monetizing sales to language companies where I was previously working in a consulting fashion. So I was consulting language service providers on how to do sales. And that's kind of how 12 months later, I now do what I do. But yeah.
And just through an evolutionary process?
Yeah, like 6 months, 7, 8 months into doing that, I got stuck. Like I have a screenshot of my calendar in October 2023 was like back to 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 back calls. And I was at that point selling workshops, consulting, and I had a community it would be a 5K buy-in to. And I like couldn't have enough calls and nobody was buying. And so I just felt like I was shoving a round peg in a square hole. And I like took another job and I negotiated to be able to continue to do my own thing. But like, I was just like, what is happening? And then in April of 24, so depending on when this thing comes out, in April of 2024, I stumbled backwards into a system of how to sell one to many and to create higher ticket irresistible offers. So 5K becomes the low ticket offer, right? And true, it's like there's no rhyme or reason for what high ticket is, but high ticket. Now I have $100,000 offer, and my mentor has a $250,000 offer. And through this system, I have revolutionized my business, and I just have so much more fun doing it. So
right,
that's where I am now.
And your first book, you were writing that when you were let go of your job, and what was the title of that book?
So I was a VP of sales, and I was fired. And I wrote the book, Be a Better Sales Leader. And that book came out a month after to like best-selling status, rave reviews. It got me tons of business.
So that was helpful timing.
It was extremely helpful timing. I'm like, I don't know about you, but like I like to invest money in partnering or like coaches who are 1 or 10 steps ahead of me to help me fast track the path in which I'm on. And so I had invested money in a coach to help me write a book in 3 months. And so
okay. So you did one of the high ticket offers where you're like getting the book done. And so that the good thing is obviously having that accountability, and then the space to create that, knowing what you want, having the accountability, paying for the service. How important are all those things?
Well, more important is the framework. Like I didn't know that when I first started consulting. I was selling myself. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not scalable because when something breaks, when I don't deliver, then it's my fault. Ironically, I had already won a Stevie Award, which is a prestigious business award for a framework I created. And it's only after like retrospect, isn't everything in life retrospect, when I realized, oh my gosh, I can't sell me. I have to sell a system or a framework. But that's after I invested in this framework. So coaching, accountability, and a framework to write the book in 3 months. And now I'm doing it again with my next book. It will be 3 months, 4 months. It just depends. And some people take the framework and they do it in a year because of whatever else they have going on. It's just, what is the framework? And so that's the trick is like, what's the system or the framework to get the results?
Are you utilizing the same coach for this next book?
Yeah, I'm so honored. They brought me back for free so that I'm actually coaching. I'm the accountability now to a group of people from the weekend we spent together, and me and two other people, and we're holding their hands and holding them accountable to the system. Despite, everybody has life going on. They have kids, they lose their job, they have unexpected travel, they have vacations, it's summertime. So yeah, I'm using the same coach.
I found that definitely helpful for systems. And that was one of the things with how with this one that we're both doing is where it's like creating the system. So it is so helpful. It's like I can give great nuggets all day long that are going to help somebody move them along. But if there isn't a framework for them to really go back to when, I'm not available for a call or whatever the case may be, it's like, okay, wait a second. All right, this is where I am. This is what's happening here. Now I get it. And the immersion obviously in the system as well, and the accountability to be like, okay, all right. Because a lot of us were not given, obviously, certain frameworks and systems or even know how important systems are. Yeah. So that's one of the things I realized with a lot when I was kind of looking back at a lot of systems that I have is like, oh, we clearly do have a system here. That's why we excel so much more than others. It's like there is something here. You think it's just your mindset, but there's a whole other thing in place as well.
Well, often I think also we're too close to our own superpowers to
Mm.
know that there is a system for doing the thing that we do, the confidence on camera, like it become or is innately your superpower. And so maybe for you with my say yes and figure it out, I had to actually deconstruct what it was I was doing in order to take massive imperfect action to move the needle. And so then I created a 4-step system only by like really going into a black hole for however long and saying, okay, what is the things I do to say yes and figure it out? And so yeah, the advice to others is like, are you too close to your superpower that you don't realize it is a superpower, and then not everybody is confident on camera, and like what can you teach us about the thing?
And I want to speak to that important part of going into that black hole, as you called it, like which is basically that time on your own. Not it's not a thinking thing. It's not like that. It's like when you're almost like you're going through a process of coming up with what is the system. We'll just use that as an example, right? So like kind of coming up with it until you really land on something that's like, that's what it is. That's exactly what I'm doing. And then you start seeing it other places where like, they don't even realize they're using my system, right?
I love it. Yeah, right. No,
Or there's the thing, if they had my system, they'd do better.
yeah, exactly. Then you start seeing everything in systems. And it really is a game changer, because I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that like April, May, June of 2023, July, August, I was just selling myself. And it was enough because I had so much credibility from selling in that industry. But I tried to, I got referred into the cannabis industry by my 5-year-old's friend's dad.
Hey friends, are you ready to transform your on-camera presence and unlock your full potential? Did you know that 85% of consumers are more likely to purchase after watching a video? And brands using video can build know, like, and trust up to 3 times faster. If you're feeling nervous or awkward on camera, this can hold you back from achieving the influence, impact, and income you deserve. But what if you could captivate your audience, deliver your message with confidence, and finally feel comfortable in your own skin on camera? That's exactly what our 10X on camera system can help you achieve. In this program, you'll learn the secret techniques used by top performers to command attention, overcome fear, and skyrocket your confidence on camera. Ready to stop hiding behind the lens and step into the spotlight? Visit 10xoncamera.com to learn more about our next free masterclass and enroll today. Sponsor limited, so don't miss out. Go to 10xoncamera.com to 10x your influence, impact, and income. We'll see you in class.
So he brought me into his business, and I was like, why can I not replicate the same success? Well, they didn't know me and I didn't have a system, right?
Right.
Let's come down to that.
Yes. Okay. That's a good point too, is taking that time. And do you think that's sometimes is that one of the things you think that happens with people is like, they're not even taking the time to figure out what is your system so that you can duplicate this and help others as well?
Yeah, right. I don't think until we hear it's a system, because the irony is, I don't know, 2021 or something, we created an accidental framework for a client. We got in trouble by a client. My CEO was like, okay, we're going to we're in sales, right? So we're going to get ourselves out of this and like make it look like it was on purpose. And then we created a system, a framework. It was 7 steps. And it was so good. I went and did it again. And I went and did it on purpose. I put the framework in place on purpose at prospects and clients. And not only that, it was so good, I was able to teach others, whether they reported to me or not, and then future people who don't know me at all, I was able to teach them that framework. And all of this happened, and I won a Stevie Award for it. And it still didn't hit me in the face that when I was consulting, I needed to sell a system or a framework. So this is why it's so important to have coaches, to have somebody who's like one step ahead of you, to pay for proximity to other people, that it's not just the information, that it's the transformation that happens as a result of, like you were saying, holding somebody's hand or being held accountable in a community, maybe. Because that's when you hear these ideas and you're like, I had to be hit over the head with it like 10 times.
Right. Right. It's like the repetition of over and over again. Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. And if it's once every 3 years, that might not be enough.
It's probably not. Let's be honest.
It's probably not going to move the needle too much, right? It's the deep dive into that.
When I came back to consulting then in April of 2024, after a successful 8 months and then a little bit of a detour, it wasn't working. And that's, I think, where it hit me. It like what I was doing before wasn't working. And people would be like, do more of it. And I'm like, my calendar is packed again. Like, I know I finally, there's different stages as an entrepreneur, and most entrepreneurs aren't salespeople, corporate salespeople. So
right.
I've learned a lot about leveraging my corporate sales background to teaching other entrepreneurs how to do the same, how to cold sell anything in the DMs, how to land podcasts and speaking opportunities, or how to leverage this for like the art of bringing clients in. But like selling myself wasn't working. So that's when I discovered there was a system to make life easier.
Yes, because then you can start outsourcing parts of your system as well. Like teaching other people is one thing, but for your own sanity too, is outsourcing those parts where it's like, what part do I really need to be doing? Like what part am I going to be the only one that can really do that part? And what else can I outsource for like the sanity? Yeah. Not necessarily, I know people talk about that work-life balance, but it's like just, sanity.
Yeah, no, and work-life balance is so important, but yes. Well, let's talk about that too. But yeah, no, okay. I'm in the position right now of figuring out how can I automate various parts of my system in order to because I'm running the play every single week. I'm doing a masterclass every single week. I'm inviting people to the opportunity to like learn from me in the masterclass and bring in guest speakers. But there's parts of that I'm like, okay, I could automate this. I could do ads, or I could leverage other people's audiences. And that then makes it easier for me to leverage the emails, etc.
You have your own podcast too, don't you?
Yes. The thing is, like, I have a YouTube channel because my mentor said like YouTube is the way to go. And writing a book, you do need to interview other people, and my opinion is like you might as well do that interview live, because then it's already out there and you don't have to like upload it or re-record it or like ask for permission later. And so that's my version of my podcast. I would just
That's your version, is whenever you want to interview somebody, you just pop it up live onto YouTube.
That's it. Yeah. Pretty janky.
That's pretty cool. Okay. So let's speak to that then. People that are listening you're like, okay, YouTube is kind of a good way to go. Like, tell us more about that.
Well, YouTube is the world's second largest search engine, which is crazy, right? And the cool thing about YouTube, unlike any other platform like this, like not Instagram, not Facebook, I don't know about TikTok, but I know about TikTok, but not in this regard. You can go back in and edit the title, the description, and the cover photo after, not just once, as many times as you want, and not just a day later, as long into the background as you want. So the strategy is, because we all think we need to have all the answers A to Z before we can do the thing. And I like to teach, take one step, right? My framework is like, take one step toward, decide you're going to create a YouTube channel, and then take one step. Now, truth be told, I do think you need about 50 subscribers before you can go live on YouTube. There's a number, and okay. I only have at this recording, I have 150 people. So I don't have that many, right? But my mentor said, YouTube is rewarding the common person with opportunities for ads and monetization, not just the big fancy influencers, right? There's influencers on YouTube or Instagram that are making millions of dollars just on endorsements and affiliates, etc. So YouTube is looking for the common person who just is doing their thing. And so I just needed to hear that from one person to decide that everywhere else I go live, LinkedIn, Facebook, those are just bonuses too. What right. My real play is on YouTube now.
Yeah, I mean, going live in a Facebook group is great, for fun, and you're going to get the engaged audience right there. But obviously, it's not going to go out to the world the same way that YouTube is, or LinkedIn. Like in any of those, you have to be in. Pretty much everybody's on YouTube.
Right. Well, and the thing is, think about it. You can go back in and you can change the description depending on what season you're in as an entrepreneur. So if today I'm selling consulting, my descriptions could look one way. If tomorrow I'm selling $1 million masterclass system, my descriptions can look another way. And if you're like me and I've got no descriptions in any of my links, my videos right now,
You're like, just get it up there. Just get it up there. Just get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Better than perfect. Yeah.
So how long have you had this channel?
Oh, I would say, you know what? It depends. It's actually, this is the thing. Like, let's stop complicating everything. It's my personal Gmail account that I just leverage as my professional YouTube account. I was on Wheel of Fortune in like 2012, and I started my YouTube channel then, and that video had like 85, like instantly without advertising it, 85.
Okay, so you Wheel of Fortune every year. You just go.
And then Sony, like 4 years later, Sony was like, "Oh, copyright infringement," and I was like, "You told us." Like, it was this whole thing, and I was like, "Okay."
No way.
So they blocked the video, and then I, like, luckily I found a DVD like buried, so I could. My family wants to see it every year, you know.
Wait, so was the one that you had that was your recording? They wouldn't even let you retrieve your own recording from YouTube?
Yeah, no, it's still. I think it's like blocked, like it's legit like blocked. But
Ooh.
then I started posting Beachbody videos because I was like a Beachbody, chasing shiny objects. So I was a Beachbody coach, a real estate agent. So it's kind of been like, but I've hidden. This is the other beautiful thing. Like, YouTube consolidates all of your videos in one place. You can't go somewhere I don't know on Facebook to find all of my videos I've ever done. And not only that, you can update the title, update the description, and you can hide videos. So I have like hundreds of videos on my channel that are hidden because they just don't align with my brand right now.
Right, with what you're doing with your brand right now. Exactly. That's a good point. And it's just so darn fun. Like YouTube, it's just so darn fun too. It's like, it's one of those where it's like you're saying, you're like, just start putting some videos out there of the thing that you're doing. Because it's just so, I love it. I have a lot of fun with YouTube. With this podcast in particular, I started it and I didn't tell anybody about it. I wanted to first get in the habits. Like, I'd like to create those certain habits and get this and systems. Like, it's a funny thing is, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, I literally have systems for folding my laundry. Like, I kid you not. Like, the best way to fold the laundry and have it all in the way I want it, like, and then how I lay it out, what I'll do. And I'm like, okay, so when I get to the point where I'm like, I'm going to hire somebody to come in and do my laundry, I'm like, this is my system. If you come up with a better system, by all means, let me know. But I don't want you straying anywhere or deviating from anything, outside of that. But anyway, so for the podcast, it was first I want to come up with a system that works for me so that I'll make sure that I have the consistency every week also. Because that was one of those things that, as far as like, if people are wanting to get any tips for a podcast or a YouTube, I would definitely say the consistency. Because there's things that people do. You don't have to be jazzed about something every second of the day, right? But if you just keep the consistency, all of a sudden something might work out from just doing the consistent part of things, right? Whether you feel like going to the gym or not, if you go, you're going to have probably better results whether you feel like going or not, right?
So true. Consistency compounds. It's like from the book, The Compound Effect. It's one of my favorite ever. And it's so true in everything. Cold calls, looking for podcasts to be guests on, consistency, putting content out there. Russell Brunson was saying that whenever he started his podcast, he went live. He was like, I have no extra time. So, okay, I'll do my podcast in the 10-minute drive I have from my house to my office. And nobody saw or found his podcast or show until like a year and a half later. And it was like he didn't start to even make progress or feel comfortable doing it until, like, I'm making these numbers up, but like the 75th episode. It was that long into being consistent that he finally found his voice. And I think so often, and that was so many years ago when he's reflecting back on that, but like so many of us, it's now or never. It's, well, I want to lose weight tomorrow, yesterday, not tomorrow. And we don't have patience. And the name of the game is consistency.
Yeah. Consistency kind of will build that. I want to speak into that a little bit with what you're talking about even with Russell. It was a long time ago, but obviously he probably had already had some level of success with the funnel world. But with the podcast, it's like, maybe like, why would people want to listen to, whatever's going on, right? Well, as he's building to get to that point. And that's what a lot of people do, even in the podcast world, is they don't even look at their numbers initially. People are all excited about their numbers. It's like, maybe it's just, maybe there's something that you can build off of that. But even Joe Rogan, who's like #1 podcast in the world, all time, the whole thing, right? I don't think for years he even looked at his numbers or gave a crap. It was just like, I'm going to talk to comedians and have some conversations with comedians. And like, that's pretty much how it started. And then it just like obviously evolved into this massive thing. So, and this is a, do you know who Rick Rubin is? Rick Rubin, who's a music producer. He was one of the main, he's a producer. So he wants to take like zero credit from the artist. He's like that guy, but he was like a big help, we'll say, with like the hip hop industry and all of that. And now I listen to a lot of the things that he says. He looks like a wizard. He's got this big, long wizard beard and then the voice and everything. So you just like listen to him and you're like, oh, that's it. So he speaks more to the artist side of things. And he's like, you don't want to create something in the thought process of the outcome. Like the artist, you want to create something in such a way that you're like, this is now good enough that I'm going to bring it to the people. I'm going to bring it to the public. This is the thing I feel that good about it that I'm now going to bring that out for people. What happens on the other end of it is completely outside of your control.
Yeah. I love that.
Isn't that great? Isn't that so helpful? It's like the more you kind of do that deep inner work too, that's also part of having not being frantic, right? It's like, you're digging deeper and you're making something, whether it's, a system or whatever that thing is for people that's going to help people. You're like, it's almost like you have this little bit of a secret with it too. Like, this is so amazing, this thing that I have. And whether people are excited about it right away, doesn't matter. You know what you've done. You know the work you've put in. Like, that's something you can definitely, my husband coaches my son's basketball team. And he said this to some of the kids. It's like, because the main thing is effort. They're going to be at all different levels based on their experience. And so a lot of the main thing is going to be the effort. So he's like, if you put everything out on the line and you have nothing to be ashamed of, the results are going to happen one way or another. Sure, have a goal, but so that you have something to go towards. But if you max yourself out and you put all you can be proud of what you've done.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. There's so much wisdom in all the things you're talking about, working on your inner self. You're talking about failure is feedback. You're talking about just keep showing up, the consistency of it, because we just live in a world right now. I've done keynotes on distractions bombarding us and like the cost of task switching, but also this whole idea of like comparing our behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel. We forget in the game of basketball that Kobe Bryant had several coaches that he paid for outside of the coaches he received by being a legend. We forget that they shoot 100 baskets a game before every single game because we don't see that. That's the messy stuff behind the scenes. Yet we look for instant gratification. And it's like, we need podcasts, we need shows, we need content in our ears to remind us that it's hard work and it's dedication. And in order to be effortless, we need to put in the effort.
Yeah, it is. It's just over time, the confidence comes with the experience. You gain more confidence, and it doesn't mean we're done. Put perfectionism aside. I consider myself a more creative than anything else, but then there's also a perfectionism to it, which can be a good outcome, but it can be hard on the person that has those two things. But so it is important to do things before it's perfect, before you're ready. That is huge. I think I even have an episode on perfectionism because I'm like, I get it, but it's like, definitely it's doing things before you're ready. And then you can coach people so much better too, especially if there is the perfectionism or any of those things that are holding yourself back in any way. You overcome those. You're those steps ahead, right? You're those steps ahead of the other people that might be like, how do I do it? You're like, I got a system actually that I worked on because I understand exactly what you're going through, right?
Can I quote you in my next book? I'm going to snip this. I'm going to like send it to you. Be like, is this okay?
Yes.
There's so much goodness in there about the perfectionism and like,
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can for sure. There was something you had said earlier too. I was like, that's like a hashtag right there. That's a hashtag. You know what I mean? But okay, speaking also to the people that want to compare themselves in a new way to the ones that have like millions and billions of followers, and every time they go anywhere, they're paid to just get out of bed in the morning, right? Basically, and then show up on anybody's thing. Do you realize too that these people have like a massive team?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Mr. Beast started like with him and a couple of friends, and like I don't know if he had any subscribers in his first year, right? Like my son was telling me about this. It's like I don't know if he had any subscribers in the beginning, like at all. You know what I mean? And look at him now. But
No,
you
my
have
5-year-old knows who that is.
yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Look at him now, exactly.
yes, of course. Of course. It's like, oh yeah, Mr. Beast. Like, and then they're like, it's I love it with kids, right? They're convinced. They're just going to put a video and pop it out there and they're Mr. Beast, right?
Oh, that's it. My Gibson wants to, like, he has his own YouTube channel, Super Crafts by Gibson. And I support it because, and he literally looked at me one day and said, Mom, I'm going to be a YouTuber like Mr. Beast when I grow up. And I'm like, how do you know who that is? Oh, he's on these Minecraft videos I watch on YouTube sometimes. I'm like, okay, I give up, but lean into it. And he's either going to be an engineer and fly airplanes or this, and I'm okay with it. Like, you might as well learn the skill set at 6 years old.
Well, okay. So if does he have, you're saying he likes the social part of things too, like the videos, he likes the interaction with the people with the videos and
he'll just like, he's like, Mom, we were at Sky Zone the other day, which is like an indoor jump place. Mom, I need to record a YouTube video. But I'm like, okay, I'm always like Insta storying anyways. I'm like, okay. And I don't even have to tell him what to say because I wouldn't. Like, this isn't my dream. This is his. He'll say, hi, this is Gibson. I'm at Sky Zone today, as you can see. Now, before I go any further, please hit the follow button, hit the bell, and like and subscribe to this video. And then he'll do the 4 things that he wanted to share. And then at the end for his closing, be like, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, they know that one. They know that. My son, now that I'm doing all these setups for things like for the masterclass and everything, they're like just buying everything. This is how I do it, right? I just buy everything and then I find out what I really need and I want. And then and within my 30 days, I'm like, okay, I got to return. I'm like, why did you need 5 boom arms? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I need 1, but I got to find out which one I like the best, And so he's like practicing on all of this, and every video that's a practice is be sure to like and subscribe, right? At the end, thanks for coming to my channel. And, the first 50 people that do this, they get right.
All right. So your son can mentor my son. That'll be fun. Because yours is a little older, right? You're 13, 15.
He's 11.
11.
He's 11 and a half. Yeah. He's 11 and a half.
But yeah.
Okay. So, and then I want to ask you this from a mom, does he put you have his face, he can put his face on his videos or he's doing faceless?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Both of my children are all over social media. I do. My husband, my ex, he had no say in that. I just did it. And I know, and I see it. I see people with millions of followers who had their, Jenna Kutcher, for example, she publicly made a decision after her second daughter was born. We're going faceless. And there's other social media influencers I've seen do that, but there's way more social media influencers I follow who just put their kids out there. And let's like just knock on wood and say a prayer, but.
Oh, yes. Well, no, I'm not saying one way or another. That's just something, of mine that I hold back from. But at some point I'm gonna, but it's just, when is that point going to happen for me? Right. So now does she has her kids being faceless or is the whole thing faceless?
No, just her kids. Yeah. You know Jenna Kutcher, she does like, and I think she was just sharing a part, I don't know how old her daughter's is, somewhere around 3 and 5, like my kids, and you're in it for so long. And then you get to a point where you're not in it and you're like, well, my kids aren't really in my social stuff anymore, except for stories on the weekends. It really is more about me, but she just she's ginormous and it's like, no, their backs will be in it, but not their faces any longer.
Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff that I do with my son, though, is, I don't know if you remember this, my son's a highly competitive athlete.
Yes.
So I mean, I got to put those highlights out there. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's pretty impressive, some of the stuff he does. So I'm like, oh, I can't help but be like, look at what he did. Right. So some of that stuff I do, but the whole channel, we'll see. It's going to happen because he, like I said, he does the videos and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, but I'm like, oh, okay, you're doing it. You're doing it. So maybe that's one of those where I'll do it as well. But also, what I want to say, one more thing about the Mr. Beast, the big thing with them is these people that are also doing that. Another thing they're doing is like they have 30 pages of what is going to happen. You know what I mean? So this is not like, so people have to just get started, not compare themselves to them, because it's like, again, there's a production, there's like, 30 pages at least of this is all the stuff that's going to happen every second of the day. And there's all of this editing and all kinds of stuff that goes into it. And there's, I don't remember, maybe this one guy, but there's a guy that he works out and he just, he does when he's at the gym, whatever it is, the videos on him, goes grocery shopping, every just low-level seemingly thing to do. This guy is just recording it, and he's like a huge star. People want that more in-depth, personal, longer form.
Yeah, I think Gary Vaynerchuk is out there several years ago saying, document, don't create. But again, he's got a guy like this guy apparently following him around in order to document it from the angle that truly is more appealing. And
like we're observing.
Yeah.
Like we're getting a sneak peek kind of thing.
Yeah, because otherwise we're just standing around like walking with our phones and like, that's fine. But I think where you're really going, and it's so true, is because I'm a solopreneur. So I can expect for the future to have X, Y, or Z results that are similar, to what Mr. Beast has as success. But I have to remember not to compare myself to him because I am where I am today. And I should just lean more into being me, which is then the document versus create part. And if this means that this is me, and if I don't have a mic, and if I don't have the best lighting, and if I don't have this, like, that's okay. Like, people just want to see you. People just want to see, what somebody is.
Just start with you and a phone. You don't even have to put the dang thing out there if you don't want to yet. Get comfortable just recording.
That's how you get confident on camera.
Yeah, exactly. Start with even in audio, right? In audio, or writing your writing your thoughts down. Okay, all right. Here's what we're gonna do.
Fun, Amy. It's been so fun talking to you. It just like I didn't know either.
I know. I was like, what? I was like, I can't believe it. So we'll do some more lives and fun things too.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, okay, just do your last thing. Okay, for you, what is your thing that you just love to have? You have to have it every day. Like, for me, it's like a cup of coffee. Do you have something in your arsenal that you're like, I need to work out, or I need to journal? What's your thing?
My thing is like being outside and like being barefoot. Because I live in Southern California. I'm from Indiana. I lived for a minute in Florida, South Florida. And so I love the sunshine, and it's hard when you work from home or work somewhere else and have kids or not. And you're just running. Like, I really try when I'm on the phone, I pace. The other day I was like, my concrete, if it had like grooves in it from me pacing, I probably paced the same exact path every day, like on accident. So I just go outside, I stare at the sun, I say thank you, and I try to be barefoot.
There is something to that, though. That's for another day. That's a whole other episode of the feet on the ground, right? There's something with that. Okay, closing thoughts.
Say yes and figure it out.
And when's it coming out?
Fall 2024.
Ooh, so like September, October? Like you said, it might be 3 months, it might be 4 months, right?
Yeah. I learned you don't say specifically if you don't have to, no, because then it's like arbitrary. But yeah, I can't wait. Yay.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Kristin. This has been tons and tons of fun.
Super fun. Thank you. Let me know when it comes out. Let me know when I can have you on my show, and
get
you to my book. And
yes. Yes to all of it.
Having said that, thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you got value from what we've provided, why not spread the love by sharing this episode with someone? Subscribe to or follow the show so you never miss an episode. and give us a positive 5-star review or a thumbs up, depending on which platform you're currently on, and share with others. For more stories and lessons, check out some of my other episodes in the series. Thank you for showing up, and be well.